And we are really going to be looking at what's happening. So can you see my screen? I just moved things around and I'm not sure. My view is going to have to change. Okay. I might have to stop and then do it again. I'm sorry. Um, fantastic. So this year, what is makes Nocturne unique and different every year is that we always have a different curator or different curatorial mission. And you'll see on all of our signage that this year it is uh, microcosm, and we also want to promote our curators, Suvanjan Carmaker. And what's really exciting about, okay, there we go, is that it's also over multiple days. So although the biggest night is the Saturday, there is also, which is the 19th, there's also going to be events on the Thursday, Friday, and on the Sunday. We also want to acknowledge that this gathering, so this training, and all of Nocturne Art at Night Festival takes place in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. So we are grateful to them for their land stewardship and that we can celebrate art on this beautiful territory. Our safer spaces, it's really important also for us to acknowledge that we as an organization are dedicated to providing a safe space for our artists, for our volunteers, for all the spectators. It's to have spaces that are accessible, that amplify marginalized voices and leadership, and actively prioritize anti-oppressive principles. Our organizational goal is to provide inclusive and free events from harassment and discrimination. In all of Nocturne spaces, we'll treat each other respect and dignity and will not tolerate any discrimination or violence. This expectation includes, but is not limited to, racism, homophobia, transphobia, ableism, ageism, sexual violence, and all aspects of violence and harassment. Building spaces that care for our various communities is deeply important to us, and we take these safety measures very seriously. So that means that not only we take it seriously, but also that you, as our volunteers, will uphold that as a value. So again, today we're going to be going over four main things is the introduction, what is Nocturne? If you're here, you might know, but you also might learn a bit more about what it is and how we got to how the festival is today in 2024. Volunteering the week of Nocturne and a bit of potential for volunteering all year round. So there are teams of people who make Nocturne happen. So I'd mentioned the curator, so Shivanjan Carmaker, and then we have this year's staff. So we have Melanie, who introduced herself earlier, who's our executive director, and she works year round. There's also Signe Holm, who is our programming coordinator, who I also think works all year round, right, Melanie? Yes, she also works all year round. We have a program called the um, Noisemakers Program Coordinator, and that is a really exciting program that happens with Bisands as art for newcomers. Then there's me. That's a great glamour shot, as you can see. And we have our communications assistant, Goche An, who's here for a contract with Nocturne. So those are the paid staff. And only two who are full-time all year round. Those of us who come in are either on contracts or short-term coming in to make Nocturne happen. So if you're thinking of everything that's happening, you'll imagine in February, Melanie's working on a lot of different things, which is outside of the era of the festival, but it takes a lot of hands to make it happen. Other people of those hands to make things happen include our board of directors. So the board of directors are very dedicated. They also meet up all year round and have various roles in making decisions, in supporting Melanie, in meeting the festival goals, and really ensuring that the vision of Nocturne is sustained and that there is accountability on every decision. So this was a very engaged board this year, and we're very grateful to them for everything that they provide to the festival. So, what is Nocturne? And that's a really big question. And so, I love this image because it really brings out the idea of that you're outside, it's night. Nocturne is about contemporary art being coming together for one evening, really from that 6 to 12 midnight. And although it's more than one evening, that is the biggest impact is of that one evening of bringing in those almost 65,000 people to downtown to share in the excitement of accessible, not only in space being accessible, but accessible art in the sense that there's no entrance fee. You can stumble upon it in different spaces that you might not usually. And it's a shared experience of contemporary art at night, no matter the weather. And this is something that also happens all around the world. If you have heard about Nuit Blanche, so that means a white night, and that means of like staying up all night. There are Nuit Blanche in Toronto. Montreal is started in Paris. And while ours does not go all night, just goes to midnight, it provides like that excitement, and it will forever change, as I like to say, the way that you might see the spaces that are transformed by art. I know that a few years ago there was a great sound. We were talking about sound baths before in a building that was not yet finished, but is now the YMCA on South Park. And there was a sound in there, and I think of it every time I go to the building. So I hope that you all have experiences like that where spaces that you see every day are transformed by the art that you see during Nocturne. Do you have anything to add about what is Nocturne, Melanie?
I think you really covered it, but just to note, there will also be a project taking place at the YMCA this year for people to build memories, especially the pool area.
There's your fun little preview. So, another thing to note that we're also a nonprofit organization, and the way that it happens is by building partnerships with local businesses. Government supports us. And everyone could support us more, and it's really about having that access to art and experience the wonder of what it can be like. So, how did we get here? Uh, In 2008 was the first ever Nocturne, and it was completed solely by volunteers for the first 9 years, if you can imagine that, from 2008 until 2017. There was no staff, it was all volunteers. The first Nocturne had 4,000 people that attended it, and there's 25 artists. Now things have changed a lot. Less than 10 years later, in 2017, there was 40,000 people who came to Nocturne. There was the first employee of an executive director. And the establishment of community partnerships that were important are still there. So that is the continuation of how we got to having some staff. There's also now more. Nocturne has grown since 2017 in some really fun ways. So in 2020, we don't need to go back to what happened in 2020, but it was our first hybrid festival because of we were being mindful during the COVID-19 pandemic, and it successfully made art possible. That is when we moved art across different days. There was online projects that were really cool, and we still had a good attendance. There was about 500 to 900 people that attended each virtual project. So that was really exciting. I was here for that. And the image behind that one is a dance project that happened on the Commons that evening. A year later, there was even more projects. So we've gone up from 25 to 40 something to 62 projects a few years ago. And now in 2024, it's our biggest year. We have 80 projects. Well, 2 years ago, there's a new executive director with Melanie who's joined us, and this is our 17th year. So there's really a lot going on and the excitement in different spaces. And you can see an image behind here of what the evening of Nocturne a couple of years ago with a project going on in the windows of the Central Library. So you can see that transformation. It's now 17 years. We're in the late years of our teenage years and planning for, even though it's a couple years away, a really blowout 20 year spectacular. And this year is going to be building on that momentum too. And it's going to be so exciting. So I'll share these official things of our mission and vision. The Nocturne Art at Night celebrates contemporary professional art in Chibuktuk, Halifax, through our festival and additional program. And we use art as a catalyst for connection. So I find sometimes the best part is if you're looking at a cool thing, you can turn to somebody beside you and be like, oh my gosh, wasn't that cool? And you can have like that shared experience that evening with a stranger, or if you're having an interactive art. The vision is it's the premier art experience in a thriving community. And if you are here, I'm sure that you agree that Halifax is a thriving space for the arts, and we're very proud of being part of that. So here's more the idea of transformation. So for those of you who have come previously to Nocturnes, you know how much the spaces can transform. So this is, I think, from 6 years ago at the Public Gardens, the grandstand. And I hope that you have a lot of similar things that stay with you about what Nocturne is going to look like, especially because that one had clear skies. So let's all think about that of our clear skies. So our values, and so we want you as our volunteers to uphold and like know what our values are, why we exist, and this is why we're going over a bit of the history and all these important things. So number one is really our artist-centered approach. So we really strive to have a strong foundation of artist care, outreach, and centering the artist in our process and decision making. It's very different to put on a festival with living artists, with people who are at the beginning or are different parts of their careers, then putting together an exhibition where the artist might no longer be with us, or the art that's already owned. So it's really everything from they apply to be part of Nocturne and they produce the work for Nocturne, and it's ensuring that they feel comfortable and they feel cared for. As for equity, diversity, and inclusion, while those can sound like buzzwords, we do take them very, very seriously. And we know that the arts help build capacity for the ideas of reconciliation. So, although it's a very small thing that we did earlier on in this presentation of doing a land acknowledgement, it's always about centering that in the conversation, our interactions, and also in different choices that the festival makes. And this can add to a sense of vibrancy and community. We celebrate all different types of artists, so Black, Indigenous, newcomer, 2SL, BBTQIA artists, and artists living with disabilities, and all across language barriers as well. Empowerment through the arts. So this one is multiple faceted. So we really aim to provide space and a time to consider the issues that are facing us today. So that's a bit of the framing of our, you know, having a different theme every year of having local artists and also artists from across Canada and the globe if they can make it. And they're always addressing contemporary issues on different scales through their art. And that's something that we can all interpret in different ways. So, and we also provide an opportunity for artists to create something that they don't have to sell. So that's a really big difference is that they're being paid if they are, we'll talk about the different type of artists that we have. If they are selected by our jury, their time is being paid for and all their supplies, and they don't need to sell it. So they're not thinking of it with a consumer in mind. They're thinking of it within the context of the theme and it being experienced as an evening. And so we really want to provide financial resources, logistical support, and we want all these artists to feel success. And you also to feel success as volunteers in supporting them. And it's really about providing taking pressure off about having to make money from their art. I know we have. this year's curator. So, have you heard that this year's curator is, so I've already mentioned their name a few times, Suvanjan Karmaker, and the theme is microcosm. So microcosm, if you don't, it can mean so many different things to all of us. And it's really about a platform to artists to consider and share stories that create connections around shared love, experiences, tragedies, and or responsibilities. And it invites artists to start conversations, leading us to their vision and understanding the microcosm and macrocosm analogy, connecting our community members to each other's experience and the cosmos as a whole. So I think that's a really beautiful and poetic way of thinking of our connections to each other on a one-to-one space and also everybody in a global and beyond just our earthly selves. So if you have more questions about the theme, which I'm sure you will, we'll talk about that in a bit. And while this is a great photo, I'd recommend wearing something a bit warmer the night of Nocturne. So here's some fun facts about where we're at now as an organization. As I'd mentioned to some people who are here early, we draw 65,000 attendees to Nocturne yearly. And this has gone up in the past number of years. It went up, as I said, from 4,000 to 40,000 to now 65,000. And it's a growing festival that has a growing impact. And we engage with different groups to make this happen. And what I love a lot about Nocturne is that it's very much, although we have artists from all over, it's such a pride of place for people who love here. That there's 80% of the people who are here who attend Nocturne are from Halifax, and that 75% of people who attend Nocturne return to experience Nocturne again other years. And that the idea of who is experiencing it, it's not just one age group, it's all ages. So while there's also some family-friendly art uh, projects, and there is, as you can see, all the age brackets there broken up differently. And there's just as many people who are from 20 to 30 as there are people from 60 to 70. So we have a diverse audience that loves to come back and it has that pride of place when it comes to the festival. As for this year's festival schedule, we have an artist curator talk on Thursday, October 17th. This happens at the AGNS, and there are the anchor artists. So that means the artists that are selected by um, the curator, and the curator will be doing that talk at 7 p.m. at the AGNS. On the Friday, there's a mix of artist talks and performances and some projects that are occurring that day. And the main signature event is on the Saturday, and that is from 6 p.m. to midnight. There is also on the Sunday a low sensory programming at the Halifax Public Gardens. And by low sensory, it won't be flashing lights. It's good for people who might be overwhelmed easily or who are looking for something that might have less people, a bit more of a quieter project that can be friendly to people who are looking for that. Now, after all that things, you might be wondering, what will I be doing? So, what does volunteering look like at the festival? And so here's your little preview that those two people who are there in jackets, and you'll see exactly what that means for you very soon. So, what is a time commitment and is it rain or shine? So, as you see here in this photo, it is raining and Nocturne happens, rain or shine. I think it's only ha rained a lot during one Nocturne ever, and that is not happening this year. If we all decide it's not happening, it's not going to happen. And your time commitment typically shifts are about 3 hours to 3.5 hours. They might be longer as I talk more about volunteer roles. And the schedule, if you're wondering about that, we're still working on it and it'll come out a week to 10 days before the festival. And you can do one shift a day. I always recommend that on the evening of Nocturne that you take one shift and then you can have the rest of the evening to enjoy the festival. And for those of you who are here, thank you so much for being here. And know that we have the hardest time filling in the later evening shifts, so 9 to midnight. So please select those. As for our projects, where do these projects happen? This is also another fun preview of where everything is happening this year. We have different zones and different themes, so that's why there's these different colors. And this is also something that would be accessible, that's on the website that you'll be able to see. And there's a concentration of art really in that downtown core, the North End, the waterfront, around the Halifax Public Library, and also in Dartmouth. So there's some fun things that will get you. So as for the roles of what you will be doing, there's the two main roles. So most volunteer shifts, but not all, are going to fall under these two buckets. So one is artist and venue support. So that can be anything from, and this is the evening of the festival, working with an artist, a collective, and ensuring that volunteers are interacting in a way that's appropriate for the art. If it's like, don't touch the art, it might be, please walk through, please do this. You might be encouraging people to be a part of it because we're trained so much not to touch things. Sometimes there are projects that you are encouraged to interact with and be a part of. It could be monitoring the project, but also talking with people about it. And it can be really fun. It could also be assisting with the entry to the project. If it's a little hard to find, there might be some of you stationed for wayfinding, so showing people how to get to it. As for the festival ambassador, your job is going to be really to promote during the evening of Nocturne where to find more projects and what's happening. So you're going to be talking with spectators. If you are an extrovert like me, this is like an excellent position for you to choose. You will be talking with people, you'll be sharing guides. We encourage you to say like, "Hey, did you know Nocturne's happening tonight?" And there's 5 zones that you'll be stationed in. There's downtown Halifax, Central Library area, Halifax Waterfront, North End, and downtown Dartmouth. So those are the areas, and there was a slide earlier on that showed what it looked like. There's going to be always they're usually three-sided, and it has a signage of that it's like downtown zone and information. So you're going to be there to animating it. As for other stuff that we have going on, there's also a photography assistant. There's much less version of these roles. You'll be supporting one of our professional photographers. I spoke to somebody who I don't know if you're here tonight, but at the launch party on Friday, who was really excited about doing this. This one is a longer commitment as you'll be working with the photographer all evening and supporting them, and you'll be getting a really unique vision of the festival, less interacting with the public and more seeing as much as you can and trying to capture the beauty of what that looks like. And I sometimes, not sometimes, every nocturne, I don't go to as many projects as I would like to, and the photos always save. Really are able to show and profile the amazing things that we weren't able to all see. So you'll be seeing a lot of things very quickly and working with them. For Noctours support, there are free Nocturne tours that are led by NASCAD students. And to make sure that those go smoothly, we usually will have 1 or 2 volunteers with each tour to ensure that the group stays together, that you're supporting them, and also giving information once the tour ends to all the other visitors. So it's about making sure by you having the jacket, they'll know that they're there for the Noctour uh, support there. There's also 3 other fun roles that you might have. This is new this year, is bike valet support. So it's organized. We have a bike valet that's going to be right in front of the Halifax Central Library. And it's organized by the Halifax Cycling Coalition. I think I already said that. And it's to ensure that that goes smoothly. So we have a few volunteer positions for that. So if you love bikes and like talking to people, that is for you. If you like, getting not necessarily dirty, but moving things around, we have project setup and project teardown. So these are really essential. They're going to be earlier right before the festival starts, and then we have some late night ones as well, or Sunday morning rolls. If you enjoy lifting things, if you enjoy working with artists, if you enjoy putting things together or taking them down, if you want to flex those muscles, we're going to have a few opportunities to that as well. We're going to have some festival hubs, and that there's going to be a few positions there, and those will be spaces where you'll be picking up your volunteer kit. It'll also be um, where you might go to get extra Nocturne guides or get information or meet with board members or staff. So there will also be some roles like that. So we have a variety of ones, even though we're only promoting the first two main ones. Now, what do you get as being a volunteer? So these two handsome gentlemen here, Diego and Mung, are actually part of our um, uh, Noisemakers project. That means newcomers who are doing projects and that have been working with somebody through via iSands. So they came and they're showing off the two things that are going to be part of your Nocturne volunteer swag. Diego here has a fanny pack, and that's a new thing this year. And we have Mung here. He is modeling in his own fashion a bandana, and it's really big, so you can style it any way you want. You don't need to style it the same way that they have as well. There's lots of different ways to style it, but those are the two main things that you're getting for volunteering this year. But what are you going to look like while you're volunteering? So this is B, who is our on the your left. That's B, Moshe, who is our programming director. That's me being very silly, and that's Signe. And we're all showing off what a Nocturne volunteer vest is. So these vests make are very fun to wear. It's not only like fun and the whole idea of construction, but not at all. It also makes you safe that night of Nocturne because it's white, because it has the reflective thing. So we recommend that you put them on top of your jacket if you have to, or your sweater. That way people can easily identify you as a volunteer. And you can also see it says it on the back, Nocturne Festival Volunteer. So that is the one thing you will get when you're picking up your kit. But unfortunately, you have to return it because that's another thing that we try to be as sustainable as possible. And this is how, there you go. And you see, I was not modeling it as beautiful as Mun, but I put it in my hair. So there you go. So where can you get all this fun swag? So it's going to be starting the week of Nocturne. There will be 5 days when you can pick it up on the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And you will be able to pick up your a jacket that you have to return. But again, the fanny pack and the bandana are yours to keep. And a fun thing about them, which I forgot to say, is that every year we have different swag. So every year is unique. So if you want to collect more cool swag, you got to volunteer next year. It's different every year. I'm wearing a t-shirt that we didn't produce t-shirts this year, but it's from 2 years ago. But there you go. So we have different things. And as for the jacket returns, if you volunteer earlier on Saturday, you'll be able to return it later on Saturday evening. And we'll have other dates, times, and locations uh, where to return them. And so really, it would be great if you could return them as soon as possible. We'll have things on the Sunday and early the next week. Because again, we use these every year. We do wash them, we take care of them, and we're trying to be as sustainable as possible in all of our different ways. So you get cool stuff. Yes, Melanie is going to add something.
Sorry, Alex. I also just wanted to mention that all volunteers will get a volunteer lanyard, so
Yes.
kind of like their festival pass. And that festival pass, in addition to letting folks know that you are part of the festival, will also allow you to have free transit throughout the festival, including the ferry. and that includes all days, so the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of the festival.
So yeah, that
And
is a pro of picking up your kit as early as possible. You'll have more free transport. So thank you so much for adding that in, Melanie. I think I didn't read all of my notes. So yes, we're providing you cool stuff, cool experience, and that's what we hope it's going to be. And as for you, what are your responsibilities? So I'd say your biggest responsibility to yourself is checking the weather and making sure you dress appropriately. So that can mean, for what does appropriately mean? Again, be warm, wear the right type of footwear. If you're going to be on your feet all day, sneakers or boots or something, making sure that you have all the weather gear that you're going to need to have a good time that evening or day, depending on when you are. So while you're on duty, you have to be recognizable as a volunteer. So that means wearing your vest. You do not have to wear your bandana. You can if you'd like, but the vest is essential. Another thing that's essential, and while I'm assuming that you're all responsible and thoughtful people, you're here, and I'm so grateful to you. We do have to mention that not to consume alcohol or any drugs before your shift or during your shift. And we also request that you not wear any nocturne gear if you are going to out to celebrate afterwards. You're allowed to wear your bandana and your fanny pack, but to take off your jacket and return before you are somewhere else. By wearing the vest, you are representing the festival. And by representing the festival, we ask that you do so mindfully. So yes, you're expected to help us maintain a safe environment for Nocturne spectators, for our artists, and for yourself. So as I mentioned before, safer spaces. If you see something, say something. If it feels unsafe to say something or do something, contact one of us. And if it is a very bad situation, then we ask for you to call uh, the authorities or somebody that is necessary. So we ask you to use your judgment, but contact us as soon if there's any issue. And the last thing is really be kind, both to yourselves, to artists, to spectators, and have a great time. We want this to be a fun experience for you. And but by being fun, that doesn't mean to leave your shift early. Show up on time, do the responsibilities of your shift, but also have a great time. So for what to expect next, when it comes to your shift, as I said, they'll be announced everything as we're still figuring out the schedule and different requirements. It'll come out a week to 10 days before the festival begins. You'll get an email, as you've been getting emails from me so far, with a link that has a full list of volunteer opportunities. We're using a platform as we have now for the past couple of years called signup.com. It's very user friendly. You'll be able to self-select shifts. Before your shift begins, pick up your volunteer cut. Again, I'll send out an email and there'll be a lot of communication from me. And you're also welcome to an artist talk. So there's ways to connect together, and there's also ways to learn more about the festival. So the opening panel is on Thursday, October 17th, 7 p.m. at the 8 Art Gallery of Nova Scotia, and it is free. And there'll also be artist talks, and there's a lot of information about those on Friday, October 18th. If you love Nocturne so much that you want to keep being involved, so currently we have a full board, but we have one board member that we are looking for. If you or somebody you know might be interested in, it is the Director of Artist Care and Support. So that is the one role that we're seeking to fill now. And although we don't have many roles happening right now, you can always check on our social media to see in 6 months if there's another role that's happening, because there's also committees and sometimes need for new board members at different parts of the year. So, other than sending emails and getting that communication from me, I strongly encourage you to also follow us if you enjoy social media. Uh, the best platform is Instagram. Is that correct, Melanie? Uh, and there's a hashtag although we don't all use hashtags as much as we did previously. It's Knox at HFX24. So you'll be get the information there as well, and also share the opportunity with your uh, friends with you. So as for questions, this is my email. It's volunteers at no nocturnehalifax.ca, Melanie's, and Signy, who's our programming coordinator. So you can share questions there, but also we can chat now about different questions that might have come up or things that have happened. Yes, things you want to add in, Melanie.
Hi, Alex, can you please go back to the page with the Instagram handle or like our account? Yeah, perfect. Thanks. I just wanted to let people know if you want to get a sneak peek, you can, our festival guide for this year, there will be copies that are printed and made available during the festival. But if you DM Nocturne, the word guide, it'll send you the festival guide. And you can do that either to Nocturne's Instagram or through Facebook Messenger. If you just type the word guide, you don't need to send anything else, and you'll get a copy of the guide. So that is was just made available today, and it's a special sneak peek for volunteers.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the sneak peek. And we also have printed guides. We put that on pause last year, and but it's going to be a limited amount of printed guides. There's a few thousand. So for those of you who are going to be festival ambassadors, you'll be getting a batch to share with people, and there's going to be different places where they're going to be shared throughout the city. So now's a great time. Yeah, does anyone have any questions? Was any of your questions not answered by the presentation? I would love to know. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. So everyone's so quiet in the chat. It makes me worried that nothing's happening. So I'm going to say thank you, and I'm going to stop recording, and then we can have some questions afterwards. So again, thank you. I'm going to stop recording, and if there's any other questions, we can answer those.